things were really picking up momentum. We were growing, revenue was climbing, and we were serving more people than ever. But then there was Greg. Greg was talented, no denying it. Yet the more we scaled, the more prickly he became. Eye-rolling in meetings, subtle digs, decisions that reeked of me first. Still, whenever I pulled him aside, he said all the right words, and I wanted to believe him. Then came the meeting. Someone referenced a leadership decision I'd shared in confidence. Greg smirked and said, "Another one of your secret plans, Nate?" Cue awkward laughs, confused stares, and a sudden silence I can still feel in my spine. I froze. My stomach dropped. This was the moment I'd been dreading. Hello, Difference Maker, and welcome to IDD Leader, the podcast that's all about helping human service organizations retain and grow their workforce using behavioral science. I am your host, Nate Beers. Let's dive in. Today, you'll leave our conversation with one ultra-simple 3-sentence framework you can use in any tough employee conversation. Secondly, I'm going to share with you the behavioral science on why we avoid these talks and how to outsmart that reflex. And I'm also going to share 3 concrete action moves so you can actually have the conversation without feeling like you're auditioning for a reality TV show meltdown. Cringe Corner. How avoiding tough conversation makes it worse. Back to Greg. After that meeting, the tension was thicker than a peanut butter smoothie. I knew the light coaching chats were not cutting it. Staff were whispering, momentum was stalling. And every time I saw Greg's name on my calendar, my heart did a cardio workout. Yet I kept hesitating, telling myself maybe he'll turn it around if I give him one more chance. Fast forward, and yes, eventually I pulled the ripcord and fired Greg. But the thing was, by then, the damage was done. Several other team members quit in protest. One walked out right before a big event, pulling the rug right out from the remaining teammates. Morale was bottoming out. And then I spent the next few months scrambling to fill gaps instead of growing the program. Yikes. Why was there so much collateral damage? It's because my earlier conversations with Greg, they were somewhat mushy. They were unclear. They didn't have any consequences. I didn't have a structure for them. I didn't have clear enough follow-through, and I definitely did not have a 3-sentence rule, which I can't wait to share with you. Oh, so much pain could have been avoided. It still feels bad when I think about Greg. Okay. Behavior science breakdown. Why we avoid tough talks. So let's talk about negative reinforcement. Not for staff, but for leaders like us. This is a concept that's often misunderstood, but I think it'll be clear by the time I'm finished sharing this. Here's what happens. Confrontation feels unpleasant, so we avoid it. That avoidance gives us relief, and that relief reinforces our avoidance, making it more likely that we'll avoid it the next time. Pretty soon, we've trained ourselves to delay the very conversations that would fix the problem. It's a self-reinforcing misery loop. Kind of like binge watching one more episode late at night, even though tomorrow's 8 a.m. staff orientation is looming. Maybe you've been there, done that, and paid the coffee bill. For leaders in human services who are already juggling crises, staffing shortages, compliance audits, and community needs, tough conversations start to feel like trying to install a smoke alarm while the building's already on fire. Sure, it's important, but do I really have the bandwidth for that right now? And because many of us, probably most of us, never saw great modeling of how to have those conversations, we default to what we did see. The avoidance, or the micromanaging, or the awkwardly long email that reads like a cease and desist letter but ends with a smiley face. Tough conversations aren't personality-based, thankfully. They're behavioral skills, and behaviors can be learned. Clear statements, observable expectations, real consequences, all teachable, practical, and repeatable. And like any other skill, when we practice the skill and it receives reinforcement, in other words, good things happen from it, then we get better at it and we get more likely to engage in that skill in the future. Scripted. The 3-sentence framework. Okay, before I share with you what to do, let's share what not to do. Beating around the bush. Hey, I just wanted to check in and see how things are going. I mean, not that anything's wrong, but... Listen, these are the kinds of conversations where your staff don't know if you're thanking them or if you're asking them to change. Trust me, I've been there, I've tried it. Beating around the bush is not a successful approach. Neither is this one. This really needs to improve, or we'll have to consider some options. Wait, what needs to improve? What options are going to be considered? Super vague equals super ineffective. It's kind of like beating around the bush, but it's more like a failed effort at being direct. Yeah, also not good. Now, on the other extreme, or swinging the pendulum the other direction, getting blamey or accusatory might sound like this. You're constantly creating problems for the team. Any kind of bringing down the hammer, yeah, it's not going to be very effective. When you walk in with a bat, you don't need to wonder why your staff are flinching. Most people tend to err on one side or the other. But let me show you another alternative. This is the good stuff, and it is. It's the 3-part framework. Sentence number 1. Help me understand, and then fill in the blank with whatever's going on. After you say that, you're listening. Insight lives in the pause. When this is a new skill, it's easy to rush through it. But really, just try that. Help me understand, and then pause. Okay, I'll give you an example in a minute, but first let me finish the framework. Sentence number 2, or paragraph 2. I need you to action by time frame, or we'll start, and then it's a negative consequence, such as a corrective action plan. This is really at the crux of creating a contingency, an if this, then that. But it has to be clear what is being asked to change. And it must be a behavior, not just an attitude or something that's vague, or even a couple behaviors. But I need you to do such and such by time frame, or this bad thing's going to happen. And then number 3, how can I help you achieve that? Again, listen. The goal here is to offer support and try to get some buy-in. It's not for you to have a monologue. They might go off. They might not. But when you frame it where, hey, this is the standard, but then aligning yourself with them to try to help support them as they meet the standard, then you don't have to be the bad guy. The standard is the bad guy. Although, really, it's not a bad guy at all. It's just what needs to get done. But then you're coming alongside and you're saying, how can I help you achieve that? In other words, I'm on your team as you try to meet the standard. Wow, that 3-sentence framework is very powerful. Let me play it out. Help me understand why your documentation is still late. Then you wait. They will probably come up with some type of excuse. They might get a little bit defensive, but that's where if you approach it not heavy-handed, but with just a clear interest in what they're sharing with you, usually you can get past that. And sometimes you might have to ask that same question a couple times. Okay, yeah, I understand it was a crazy day, but help me understand why even when there's a crazy day, you still haven't prioritized it. Again, you might have to ask that a few times. Then number 2, I need you to complete your documentation by the end of your shift every day starting this week, or we're going to begin a corrective action plan. Boom. It's that simple. There's the standard, there's what needs to be done, and when it needs to be done by. And then the third part, how can I help you be successful with that? There might be some kind of a real issue that got in the way. It maybe didn't even come up when they were, sharing, help. When you said, help me understand, they started sharing. But if there is a real issue that you can support, by all means, support it. Otherwise, it just helps them to see this is their responsibility to get it done, but that you're for them. In the end, it's firm, it's respectful, and there's no wiggle room worthy of a TikTok dance trend. You can also, if you want, and if you want to geek out with me for a moment, you can think of it as a leadership version of Marvel's 3-act structure. You set the scene, you confront the villain, and then you offer a redemption arc. Action moves. Do it this week. So here's where we can get really practical. What's your next step for today? Number 1, pick the conversation you're avoiding. It's the one lounging on your to-do list like a half-empty LaCroix can you keep pretending you'll finish. That one where you feel that sinking feeling of dread, that's the conversation that needs to happen. If there is one on your list, pick it. Number 2, draft the 3 sentences. I'd recommend writing them down or typing them out, and then actually practice saying them out loud a couple of times. Bonus points if you can find someone that you can practice with, but that might feel over the top. I understand. Even if you don't remember them, and even if you don't refer to your notes, the act of forming those sentences and making yourself get specific with language will be very powerful when the stakes are high and when you're actually having the conversation. And then number 3, the last part of this, of your action moves, is get accountability. If you tell a peer, hey, I'm going to have this conversation on Friday, ask me how it went. It's amazing how much bravery will spike when you know that there's a follow-up text coming. And just that feeling that you're not alone. It tends to really improve the follow-through, and it helps to build the skill. Okay. Tough talks aren't about confrontation for its own sake. They protect your mission, your staff, your sanity. And the longer you wait, the higher the price. The sooner you speak clearly, consistently, then the faster your culture recovers, and the more you retain and grow your workforce. Speaking of that, if you want to level up your staff retention, I encourage you, grab the Turnover Fix Playbook. It's a free PDF download at iddleader.com/supervisor. In it, there are 4 plug-and-play supervisor habits that you can roll out today, and there's no capes or super serums required. Well, I hope you found this episode helpful. Until next time, here's to you, Difference Maker. Keep up the amazing work.